Good morning. Good morning. It's another Tuesday morning, morning cup of coffee with Mary May, your leadership strategist. Before you make any major decision in your day, make sure you have your cup of coffee or tea. So let's chat about some leadership nuggets and how you can use your GPS and setting your goals, positioning and planning, and your strategy on how you can navigate in your day to day life. So let me take my first sip of coffee. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us this morning. Um, so, every Tuesday morning, come in to talk about your transformation and leadership and how you can go from being overlooked and passed over to being well paid and promoted and leveling up in your career however it best serves you. And so today's conversation is simply um, are you blocking your own opportunities and leveling up? Are you blocking your own opportunities and being able to level up? Um, so usually any change, any shift, any idea that you have in how it is that you want to show up for yourself professionally and personally requires some level of shifts, some levels of change, some opportunity that's going to position you in a different way for how it is that you can level up in your own career, level up in your relationships, understand how your footprint is as a leader in different conversations, and realizing how the comment of breaking the glass ceiling really is a self-imposed idea versus it being an idea or a strategy that is from exterior situations, but that's really going to be connected to the conversation that we have today. So again, the conversation is, are you blocking your own opportunities and being able to level up? So I want to share that each Tuesday we are here for about 20 to 30 minutes sharing some leadership strategies and nuggets so that you can go from being overlooked and passed over to well paid and promoted. And engagement and your questions and everything is welcome, whether you're here on with us live or you're catching us on the replay. If you share any comments, any thoughts or things that come to mind that spark you from this conversation, or you find a way in which I can assist you, feel free to put those questions in the chat as we go along this morning, and kind of peeling back the layers of, are you in your own way of blocking your opportunities to level up? And so when you think about the different levels or ways in which you show up, you have to think about, what is it that you are doing that you feel or you experience that you have a glass ceiling, or that you have really like kind of mastered what you can master maybe at that particular address or in this particular relationship, but then recognizing what role do you play in that. And so the thing is that the idea of a glass ceiling is really a self-imposed idea that if you have a 2 millimeter mind shift, that you can just see yourself into whatever those things are. You don't necessarily have to break the glass ceiling, and the glass ceiling no longer exists. So it only exists in the aspect of how it is that you choose to give it power, or to give it focus, or to give it attention. So basically a glass ceiling sets the up level mark for you to know that you still got more to strive for. You got still more that you want to interchange and transform in your leadership, so that you can make those power moves and live the life that you would like to live on your terms. The things come with the way that you are bendable and flexible in your life and in your leadership, and recognizing that your impact has the greatest influence of all. Your metamorphosis of your life and your leadership, they work interchangeably, and they have the greatest impact of all. The thing is that, how committed are you to focusing And how committed, what are your morning mantras? What are your afternoon mantras? How is it that you keep yourself focused and not getting distracted in the day-to-day GPS, in the day-to-day experience, where you begin to become challenged in how you stay committed and focused to the journey that is presented to you. And so when you are clear on your commitment and clear on your role and your touch and your footprint in a situation, then you begin to level up like kind of unapologetically. But one of the things that we tend to maybe not realize is that when you are in the boardroom or when you are in a team meeting and people have complimented you on your commitment or complimented you on your focus, how do you internalize that? Do you take it as criticism? Do you take it as, okay, well, maybe I'm doing team too much? What is it that you begin to tell yourself in that frame of what someone is saying and pouring into you? And how does that then shift how it is that you show up in the next meeting? Do you do less? Do you not, come in your 100% with like 2 pages of questions to kind of navigate what is going on? The thing is that, remember, every conversation that you have is an interview. And with every conversation, every interaction that you have of being an interview, if there is a task that has been given to you and you are not following up in your footprint on how it is that task is supposed to be implemented, but you have done it before, but for some reason, because you've gotten those compliments of your commitment and your focus, your follow through is not really working well, or that you're not really consistent in how it is that your follow through can actually help you. So if everything that you do is an interview, your ability to follow up and follow through becomes very, very important, because each stage in which you give that follow through and that follow up integrity shows that, okay, you can handle this level. Let me give you something else. But when you procrastinate and don't follow that level, then you give room for what people feel as if is not serving you. So a comment I see is I post feedback to high performing professionals and decision makers to receive the best advice. And we always got to be open to that feedback, that are the other professionals in our network that we trust, we value their voice, but the decision makers are the ones that can help you identify truly if your commitment and your focus is in alignment with your overall goals, but if it's also in alignment with the strategy that you have moving forward. So if you've been given something and you say, okay, well, I don't really want to follow up on that right now, although the timeline is approaching, realize what that communicates to the individual who has the pen to write the ink, that, okay, it's time for you to level up. Because if they've given you one task and you successfully handled it, then there's another task awaiting for you on the other side of that conversation, so that you can begin to show your consistency, your diligence, your skill set, so that you're no longer overlooked and invisible in that team for how it is that you can show up. So it's like being clear on what it is that's important to you, in a sense that you're not in limbo, and that you have the clarity, and that you're not allowing fear to kind of drive your ability to move forward. So if you find that you are not following up, that you are procrastinating, and that the procrastination, if you understand procrastination at all aspects, procrastination is a level of fear. Procrastination is delaying an outcome that you have worked so very hard to achieve, whatever role of leadership that is. But it's something about being able to level up in that particular way that makes you uncomfortable. It makes you feel and question, are you able to be positioned in that particular way and be successful in implementing every little thing that is going to push you forward? And so when you think about how it is that you make reservations for reservations, intentions, or goals with how it is that you want to level up, you have to think about all of the steps in which you take on a day-to-day basis that will help you to not fall into the frustration of the ripples that happen in the matrix, but to be able to, as the frustration happens, to be able to reset your table, reset your focus, that you're not stuck. Because when you become stuck, you change your focus and your commitment also changes to what it is that you want to do. So if you're constantly changing your mind and not sticking to something and not having the very diligence that is needed to help you level up and show your ability unapologetically, then a manager, a person, a contract who is going to look to renew you is going to look at that characteristic and find that you may not be confident enough to sustain the role that they had in mind for your skill set, or that there's something about how it is that you choose to communicate what has gone well, what has not gone well, and you choose to stay stuck in that without reaching out to get additional resources. So the things that frustrate you on a day-to-day basis requires, yes, requires new challenges for you to be able to conquer, and to not take those new challenges as, oh, I must not be qualified, or they're going to, go ahead and give it to my other counterpart because of their gender, or because they said more in this particular meeting. If you choose to hide behind the curtain, then you choose to not give yourself the opportunity to rise up to the occasion. Because again, with every conversation being an interview, you have to realize people are always looking and you're always on swivel. Now, that could be very stressful for some people, but it's stressful only if you are honoring the chronic sacrifice of your transformation. Because in order to transform from where you are today and where you see yourself that you want to be in your touch and your footprint in leadership, is going to cause you to make that 2 millimeter shift in your mindset, in your actions, in your productivity, in your follow through to be successful. And I'm really driving in on follow up and follow through because I've come across a couple clients throughout this week where they are not really necessarily showing up where they can follow through, or they're not necessarily, they're saying, okay, well, I don't want to do this follow through. I recognize that my employer has, asked me to do this different thing, and they're sending me to meetings in different places. And I was like, do you realize that you're being positioned for your promotion? Do you realize that not following through or procrastinating because you're fearful of the outcome is you pausing your ability to level up? They had to sit with themselves for a second, because whereas the things that they have in life cause them to need or benefit from being able to level up in their career, they also didn't realize that the small task, the day-to-day requirements, the day-to-day things that they are called to do are the stepping stones to getting them positioned to where it is that they need to be. And every time they procrastinate and allow fear to drive their focus, then they allow that pause of somebody to say, you know what, I believe that you are ready to level up in your career because you have not gotten stuck and being frustrated, and you were able to pivot your focus to kind of work in alignment with what the next thing was. So someone asked, if you ask for feedback, would it be seen as a lack of confidence? That depends on how it is that you choose to ask for feedback. So leveling up requires like new challenges for you to be able to conquer what those fears are. So it depends on how you frame it. If you frame it from a deficient standpoint, as only from the negative, then yes, that's going to lack confidence. But if you say, I realized that when I went to complete XYZ task and I came across some barriers and resources. Can you help me pinpoint some other ideas or strategies or which direction it is that I should go? That shows that you have intention on leveling up, that you have intention on being bendable and flexible to learn the opportunities, but do some research on your own to know what some of those other opportunities or other resources are, or be able to show evidence that you did some footwork. You didn't just do a part of the job and then said, okay, well, I'm just going to go ask them all these questions so that they could do the work. If they wanted to do the work, they wouldn't have given you that task. They wouldn't have given you that opportunity for that interviewing you of how it is that are you going to procrastinate or stand in your authority walking into that conference room or walking into the meeting fully prepared, that not only have you followed through, but you've also shown up to be able to show your level of access of that you're prepared. So it's like you are standing in it. You're standing in the gap. Your confidence comes with your conviction as well as with your consistency and your ability to focus. So when you are asking for that feedback, you have to realize that some constructive criticism is going to come. And with that constructive criticism, how do you internalize it? Do you internalize it for it to be all negative or all, defeating? Or do you say, okay, let me reset the table. Let me reposition myself. Let me not only understand what's being said to me, but understand how I can grow from the inside out as a leader with my footprint from the feedback that has been given to me. So things may not come across the way that you intended or what you were expecting to hear, but realize that's that person's perception. And it only becomes a reality when you allow the procrastination and the fear, and you also don't have or choose to not, take on that follow up and that follow through, because again, that is guiding you on your personal GPS, both professionally and personally, to be clear with your goals, to recognize that everything is positioning you so that you can plan with a successful strategy. But sometimes that strategy needs those 2 millimeter shifts so that you can identify how you can pivot, how you can utilize the feedback, versus the opposite of what we normally do is we take the criticism, we begin to self-talk ourselves into a very negative space where we begin to say, okay, well, that wasn't my position anyway, or maybe I should just go somewhere else. Now, sometimes you do need to change addresses. However, when you change the address, you are still the common denominator. So if you haven't made those 2 millimeter shifts, is it the address? Is it the leadership that you are working through? Or is it the ability of you being open to how it is you need to pivot or grow in your footprint as a leader and being able to confidently walk with authority into any room? Now, I'm not saying walk with authority into any room where you're going to flip the table over and, it's going to be all kind of, things happening, but being able to walk in with the confidence of knowing I have done the forethought work. I have not allowed myself to get stuck in what it is that I have paused myself. I've allowed fear to take a standpoint, or something that's frustrating me that I got stuck in that. If you are that person and you allow that, you need to unlock your silence so that you can get snatched to your next level of leadership. The silence that you choose to dance within, that pauses you from being able to snatch that next level of your leadership, is you defaulting to procrastination. So what is it that you typically find that you procrastinate about? What is it that you typically procrastinate about, and why? Are you a person that works under pressure and you find that, okay, well, if I delay this so long, the procrastination, which is fear of the outcome, if I delay this for so long and then I have only an hour to get it done, it's going to be my best work. But then aren't you exerting your mind, playing the thoughts or the task over and over and over again, and you're not activating what those next steps are? If you're not activating those next steps, then how is it that you are really truly walking in to snatch your next level of leadership? If it's just laying right there in front of you and you are not making that shift, why do you choose to go through the process of procrastinating, thinking, overthinking, rethinking, losing sleep? You're putting more energy into it not being successful than it being successful. And so you always have to realize that whatever you are leveling up to always seems impossible until it is actually done. I'm going to say that again. It always seems impossible until it's actually done. So, where you can say, I walked into the room, I commanded the attention, I came with the follow through, I'm consistently not falling into the aspect of fear, and I'm not allowing frustration to pause me, but I'm learning from every moment that is, then when you have that interview conversation that you don't even realize that you're being analyzed and assessed and prepared and positioned for the next test, if you will, or the next testimony, if you will, that you are being able to walk boldly in your strategy, and you're able to secure not procrastinating but being able to say, you know what, I own this, I deserve this, and I'm going to ensure that I get what is the opportunity that lays before me. And I'm not going to dwell in the negative, but I'm going to take note and take that honest and personal inventory on how I can learn, again, not only understanding from the global aspect, but understanding what is that interpersonal shift, what is that interpersonal change, what is the conversation that I need to shift in that daily divorce of self and breaking up with the things that are not serving me well. So one of the comments, the 2 millimeter shift is powerful. Thank you very much. Loving how I said that every conversation is an interview. Absolutely. We don't realize that. I mean, across actually all aspects of our lives, we're always gathering information about a situation, a task, a person, whatever. And so as we're gathering information, that's an intervention understood that you're interviewing to learn, where does this situation or person or task fit into your life, or does it not fit? Commanding your stage, and then wanted to say good morning, and then also saying we must be in a season of boldness to be able to move forward. Also, what else are you doing to further develop yourself? You can't only rely on the job. Absolutely. Are you reading books to improve, attending free webinars, participating and volunteering in professional organizations? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad that you said that, in regards to, you can't only rely on the job. Because when we hear the word leadership, we often connect it to how it is, and we define ourselves through the work that we do. However, when you think about you as a leader, you're a leader outside of the place in which you choose to work or a place in which you choose to level up. When you level up in one aspect of your life, you end up leveling up across all domains of life. And so it takes a shift, or it takes the responsibility to realize that you as a whole person, this really connects to that understanding of who you are. You as a whole person need puzzle pieces that connect on both personal and professional, that interchange and intersect to build you as the leader to make all things possible. Remember, when you can say that it's done and you're looking for what's next, it always seems impossible until it's done. So if you don't take that stretch or that step out on, if you want to call it faith, if you want to call it focus, if you want to look at it being integrity, or using your agency and influence as the team leader that you are, you begin to position yourselves accordingly. You begin to recognize how it is that you show up, unapologetically in all ways in which you work moving forward. I had a quote here, and I wanted to try to find it because it looks like I went past it. Yes. My quote this morning And I'm opening up, the space for any additional questions or thoughts or feedback that you may have. But my quote this morning is that you can't learn how to prosper if you can't unlearn the ideas that hold you back. I'm going to say that again. You can't learn how to prosper if you can't unlearn the ideas that hold you back. I came across that in my scroll from Marquel Russell, and I wanted to just share that in this conversation as I found that it would be beneficial to what it is that we're talking about today. So if you're challenged with the competency in dealing with procrastination, dealing with fear, dealing with commanding that room without the self talk that's sabotaging you or causing you to think differently about what it is that you're doing. How many no's does it necessarily take for you to recognize the integrity and the focus and the ability of your level up, that when it comes to repositioning yourself and looking at what you perceived and understood as the glass ceiling, that glass ceiling becomes invisible, because the box that you have placed yourself to think that there was a glass ceiling is the limits that you put in your own genre, in your own focus, in your own like focus of goals and everything like that, to say I can only level up to this point. But the reality is there's no boxes that contain your level of strategy. There's nothing that limits the ability of you making those 2 millimeter shifts and that transformation from where you are today and where it is that you want to be. It just takes a different lane of genius and a lane of work that's going to help you really recognize how it is that you can show up. So oftentimes the thing that is missing is recognizing and realizing that what you tell your body and your brain and what is dwelling in is really what your brain is going to focus on and be able to negotiate or inform you that you can move past that limiting thought process of there being a glass ceiling and your ability to level up. And so when you're making reservations on how it is that you want to move and level up, you got to realize, what is it are you choosing to maintain, like to keep in your energetic space, or what are you willing to break up with? Are you willing to break up with the things that do not serve you well, which may be that self-talk, that daily divorce of self, where you're negotiating how it is that you're positioned in different places? Because if you're able to break up with it, then your growth, your ability to level up, your ability to have the promotion, not only in your personal life, but in your professional life, is going to change your personal perspective as well as the perspective of those who are observing your greatness and observing what it is that you offer in the footprint of your leadership. And as long as you do that with consistency, your leadership will be snatched, and you will definitely have that level up where you're no longer invisible and no longer hiding behind a curtain of opportunity that is passing you over. So if any of this served you well, I hope that you can pour into your cup of coffee that you are having or tea and be able to activate the changes that are necessary. Um, However, if you find that you need help with that strategy and being able to grow from being passed over to promoted and well paid, or whatever that looks like, I do have a free gift for you, where you can review a case study of some of the scenarios in which I have worked with leaders in corporate America go from being passed over, overlooked, to well paid and promoted, and giving them the strategy utilizing the GPS formula: the goals with clarity, planning and positioning, and a strategy that's going to help them to get to that next level. So if you're interested in learning more, that free gift is available for you at workwithmarymay.com. Otherwise, I am here to share nuggets with you throughout the week, but definitely on Tuesday mornings as you prepare for your morning commute, for your, if your commute is to a space in your home, if you're still doing virtual work or if you're working, out in the world, I hope that you could join me on Tuesday mornings for the Leadership Nuggets. So if there's no other comments or questions, I do appreciate those of you who have joined me here live. If you find that there's somebody who may benefit from this message, please feel free to share. And otherwise, I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday with your cup of coffee or tea and your leadership nuggets with myself, Mary May. I look forward to serving you at the highest level that you choose to achieve, and your breakthrough is waiting on you. In the meanwhile, you take care and you have a successful day.